Scary, true stories from night shifts that will haunt you. Part 3. The Disturbing Caller at the 7-Eleven. Lily's shift at the 7-Eleven was nothing out of the ordinary. The small rural town she lived in was quiet at night, the streets empty except for the occasional car passing by. The store itself was the only sign of life for miles, a comforting beacon of light in the dark, and Lily often found herself alone during her late-night shifts. It was peaceful in a way, but that peace also carried a certain eerie stillness. Lily had grown accustomed to it over the months, her shifts blending into a repetitive routine of stocking shelves, cleaning, and waiting for the clock to tick closer to 6 a.m. when she could finally go home. But tonight was different. As the night wore on, the usual emptiness seemed more suffocating. Lily found herself glancing at the clock more often, her mind wandering and her eyes darting to the dark windows. The sound of the refrigerator buzzing in the back and the occasional rattle of the old air conditioner filled the otherwise still air. She wasn't sure if it was just the isolation getting to her or if something was truly off tonight. Around 2 a.m., just as Lily was finishing up behind the counter, the door chimed. A man entered, stumbling in a way that immediately caught her attention. He was younger, maybe in his mid-20s, with unkempt hair and clothes that looked like they hadn't been washed in days. At first glance, he seemed harmless enough, just another late-night customer in need of a snack or a drink. But something about his presence unsettled Lily. He didn't approach the counter immediately. Instead, he wandered the aisles, muttering to himself in an incoherent jumble. Lily strained to hear, but his voice was muffled, like a low hum that didn't belong. He stopped at the chips section, picked up a bag, then put it back, only to pick up another one, repeat the process, and then put it back again. He didn't seem to be looking for anything specific, just aimlessly picking up products and setting them down. Lily watched from behind the counter, her curiosity piqued. The man seemed odd, his behavior more like someone lost in a trance than someone simply browsing the store. She tried to ignore the unease creeping up her spine, but she couldn't. She had seen plenty of quirky customers, but this one felt different. After a few minutes, the man finally walked to the counter. His head was tilted slightly up, and he wasn't looking at her, but rather at the ceiling. His eyes were wide, glazed over, like he wasn't fully aware of what was going on around him. Lily couldn't decide if he was just tired or if there was something more to him. "Can I help you with something?" Lily asked, trying to sound professional, though she couldn't hide the hint of nervousness in her voice. The man didn't respond at first, but his lips twitched, and he mumbled something under his breath. Lily leaned in slightly, straining to hear. "Are you with them?" he asked, his voice deep and distorted, as though he were speaking from a place far away. His eyes shifted upward again, never once meeting hers. His words didn't make sense. Lily froze. The man's strange, incoherent speech and unsettling gaze made her stomach drop. She tried to brush it off, offering him a polite smile, but she could feel the tension building in her chest. There was something not right about him. She couldn't put her finger on it, but her instincts screamed that she needed to keep her distance. "Do you need anything else?" she asked, her voice wavering. The man didn't seem to hear her. Instead, he continued to stare at the ceiling, his lips parting every now and then, as though he was having a conversation with someone who wasn't there. Lily's heart began to race, and she could feel the hairs on the back of her neck standing up. She had worked countless shifts alone, but this was different. There was a weight to the air, a pressure she couldn't shake. She was about to speak again when, unexpectedly, the man turned and started walking out of the store, still muttering to himself. Lily watched him go, her breath held in her chest. But then, just as the door closed behind him, her phone rang. Lily picked it up, expecting it to be one of her friends checking in on her. But when she answered, she was met with a sound that made her blood run cold. It was the same man's voice, the strange muttering she had just heard. now coming through the phone. But this time, it was clearer, more distinct. His voice echoed in her ear, louder now, but still filled with the same eerie, hollow tone. "You're not safe. They're coming," he whispered into the phone. Lily's hand trembled as she gripped the receiver. She opened her mouth to respond, but the line went dead. She stared at the phone, the ringing tone still echoing in her mind, the man's words reverberating through her thoughts. "They're coming." The chill in her chest intensified. Who was they? What did the man mean? Lily glanced toward the door, her mind racing. She couldn't explain it, but the air in the store felt thicker, heavier, as if the walls themselves were closing in on her. She felt trapped in a small, dark corner of the world, unable to escape. Her heart pounded as she looked toward the windows, half expecting to see the man standing there, watching her from outside. But the parking lot was empty, save for the flickering lights of the street lamps. She quickly locked the door and checked the windows, but nothing seemed out of place. It was silent again, but the silence was worse now. It was suffocating. Lily took a deep breath, trying to calm herself, but her hands shook as she tried to return to her duties. The phone call had rattled her more than she cared to admit, and she felt exposed, vulnerable. But then she forced herself to focus. She couldn't let her mind wander. She had a job to do. Minutes passed, and Lily started to feel some semblance of normalcy return to the store. Her mind shifted back to the tasks at hand, stocking the shelves, cleaning the counters, but the nagging feeling wouldn't leave. The phone call, the man's disturbing presence, the sense of something looming just beyond her reach. Suddenly, the phone rang again. Lily picked it up, dread pooling in her stomach. This time, her voice was tight as she answered. "Hello." There was no answer at first, just static. Then she heard the man's voice again, clearer now, more distinct than before. "I know where you are," he whispered, and Lily felt the blood drain from her face. Before she could react, the line went dead again. Her body was paralyzed, her mind racing. How did he know where she was? She hadn't told him where she worked, hadn't mentioned her home address. How could he possibly know anything about her? Her pulse quickened as she glanced around the store. The walls felt closer now, the aisles narrower. She was alone, but she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. Suddenly she heard a sound outside, the distinct rumble of a car engine pulling into the parking lot. Lily's heart raced as she turned to the door, her hand hovering over the lock. She didn't know why, but her instincts told her to stay hidden, to stay out of sight. She crouched down behind the counter, peeking out through the windows. A dark figure stepped out of the car, walking toward the store. Lily held her breath. The man? She wasn't sure, but the dread in her chest was overwhelming. Was he the one who had been calling her? Was he here now? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sudden jarring sound of the store's bell ringing, signaling the door opening. She turned to look, and her blood went cold. The man was standing in the doorway, his face pale and unreadable. "Let me in," he said, his voice chillingly calm. Lily didn't know what to do. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to get out of there, but she couldn't move. She was trapped, the walls closing in as the man's presence filled the space. The terror in her chest grew as she realized she was no longer alone. What would happen next? Was this man just a strange customer, or was there something more sinister at play? Stay tuned for the final part of this terrifying story. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our channel to discover the truth behind the mystery.